celebration stamp set from Stampin' Up, available January 5th, 2016. And it's called What I Love, and this is a wonderful stamp set. Now, you can't purchase our celebration stamp sets. You can get them for free though with a qualifying order, so you can just go to my blog at www.serenestamper.com to get all the details. And one of the reasons I do love this stamp set is because it's a two-step stamp set. If you're not familiar with that, what that means is that you have an outline image and then you have a solid image. So you would stamp this image, for example, in a lighter color, and you can stamp the outline in a darker color. So it does all the coloring for you when you're stamping it. In actual fact, this is a three-step stamp set because there's a third image for building this flower. So let me show you how this works. So these are the stamps, and they're photopolymer, and photopolymer I find work better when you stamp on your foam pad. It's from Stampin' Up as well. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 5 1/4 by 4, and I'm going to start stamping with this image right here. I'm just going to stick that on my clear block, and for this card I'm using my Watermelon Wonder. So I'm inking it up. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I want this to be lighter than the outline stamp, so I'm simply going to stamp off onto my scrap paper and then just stamp onto my card. Now I'm actually putting a piece of computer paper underneath it because I'm going to stamp off my paper. I'm just going to stamp a cluster. Just like that. Now I'm going to stamp the smaller of the solid flower image in the same color. I'm going to stamp off again and then stamp on. Personally, I'm not too worried about lining up that arrow too much because I know it's going to look really good. Can't really go wrong with two-step stamp sets. Now I have my outline, and I'm going to stamp that right on top. And it's absolutely so pretty. So you have pretty images in no time. Now I know I could line this up a lot more perfectly than I did, but personally, I think that looks fine, so I don't usually worry about that too much. If you're using other two-step stamp sets that are a bit more intricate, then yes, you're going to want to make sure you've lined up these tabs so that everything positions perfectly on there. Next, I'm going to stamp with some leaves, and I'm going to do this in my Mossy Meadow. Just to start filling in the gaps. Using my old olive, I'm using another image from the same stamp set, again just as a filler. Okay, I want to color the inside of my leaves. I'm just going to take my blender pen and pull that ink in. In the same stamp set, there's also a fun little dot here. I'm going to use that for the center of my flower. And I'm going to use soft suede. There's another new stamp set from our 2016 Occasions catalog that's also available January 5th, 2016 that I'm absolutely in love with. It's called Timeless Textures. And if you're familiar with our Gorgeous Grunge stamp set, and if you love that set as much as I do, you're going to want to get this set. I know I'm going to be using this on a gazillion cards. It makes really, really neat backgrounds. So I'm going to grab some stamps from that set. Again, put my computer paper underneath. And I'm taking this swirl, and again my soft suede. I'm going to ink that up, stamp it off on my scrap paper, because again I don't want it to be too dark, and just go around the edge with that. And I'm turning my stamp as I go along. These are our stamping sponges, and what I do when I get them is I cut them into 4 pieces just to get a little bit more mileage out of them. I'm going to take my early espresso. I can move this out of the way now. Ink that up really well. And I'm just going to sponge around the edge. In the Timeless Textures, there's also some little dots to give it a bit of a splatter look. I'm just going to stamp some of them on. A little randomly. Sometimes I'm inking off and sometimes I'm using just full strength ink. And now I'm going to stamp my expression from the What I Love. I'm still using my early espresso. This is Know What I Love. Now I'm stamping up the word you. That actually stamped a little bit crooked, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix that. I'm taking a piece of my Scrap Whisper White, and actually instead of stamping it in the early espresso, I'm going to stamp it in my Watermelon Wonder. Just ink that up. And I'm going to trim off the edge. And I'm also going to sponge around the edge. And I find sometimes when you make a mistake like that, you actually end up with a better card than what you originally intended. That's why I always like to say you can't make mistakes, because you can always improvise. So then that is going to cover up this. I have a piece of old olive cardstock, which I've cut to measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when it's folded. So I've just put some adhesive behind my card front, putting it onto my card base there. And next we're going to grab this banner right here. And I'm actually going to trim that off. That actually just needs to go there. So I'm going to kind of make a mark with my nail so I know where to cut that. And then just trim that off. I'm going to take a couple dimensionals. And line it up with the edge and put it right on top, like that. Now I've taken a piece of my old olive baker's twine, and I'm going to adhere that with a glue dot. And finish it with a rhinestone. So I hope you enjoyed that card featuring our new two-step stamp set. And I know sometimes I get comments, thank you for leaving your mistakes in your videos. So there was another one that I'm keeping in the video to show you how I fixed that U that got stamped crooked. And honestly, I like that little banner on there. And I think that mistake turned out pretty well. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Happy stamping.